There are people that are producing videos, writing books, and preaching in churches that are making the claim that giants in the Bible reached astronomical heights. Most are relying on extra-biblical books like the Book of Enoch, which claims that pre-flood giants reached heights of 4,500 feet tall, which is not only ridiculous, but also physically impossible. There are others that are citing ancient myths of 14 and 25-foot giants from cultures around the world and treating those myths as if they are facts to add hype and mystery to their books and videos. Yet, in doing this, they ignore the New Testament teaching about avoiding myths and folklore. In this video we will prove that all these preachers and teachers that are promoting myths and fables about giants are not just wrong, but they are also promoting false doctrines. We will do this by showing you what the Bible actually does teach about the giants, and show you their true heights. Let us first start by saying that the average Israelite was probably around 5 feet 5 inches tall, which means an average 6-foot man today would be considered very tall in comparison. Now imagine what the average ancient Israelite would consider a 7-foot, 8-foot, or 9-foot person that was both physically fit and a skilled warrior. They would be seen as terrifying to the people of that time. So, let us actually look at the measurements in the Bible, so that we can dispel the myths and exaggerations about giants. In 1 Chronicles 11:23, we see that Benaiah the son of Jehoiada killed a so-called giant from Egypt, which used a spear like a weaver's beam, and described as a man of great stature. Yet, he was only 5 cubits in height, which makes him only about 7 feet 6 inches tall. That is tall, even by today's standards, but that is far from the colossal heights described by people promoting mythology. Goliath, like the 7.5-foot giant that we just mentioned, also used a spear like the weaver's pole. The Septuagint, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and Josephus all say that Goliath was only 4 cubits and a span in height, which means that Goliath was only about 6 feet 9 inches tall, not the 9-foot height given in the 10th century AD Masoretic Hebrew. So, Goliath was not an abnormal height. Next, we have King Og in Deuteronomy 3:11. And while we do not have his personal measurements, we do know that he had a bed that measured in at 9 cubits, making it 13.5 feet long. However, we must remember that this is only his bed's measurements, and not his personal height, which means that Og had to be smaller than his bed. So, Og was probably only 7 to 9 feet tall. Therefore we can see that the giants in the Bible are not as mythical as people make them out to be, and are really no different than large people that we have seen in modern times. The largest man recorded in modern times is Robert Wadlow, which reached the height of 8 feet 11 inches tall. If he had not passed away at the age of 22, he would have probably continued to grow and reached much higher heights. There are also numerous sports figures that have reached huge heights. Then there are those that have grown to large heights because of medical conditions. Another problem is the way people read the Bible. When people read passages with hyperbole, such as in Amos 2:9 and Numbers 13:33, it must not be taken as a literal description. So, the people of Israel did not appear small as literal grasshoppers to the inhabitants of the Promised Land. That was an exaggeration from the wicked spies, and it needs to be interpreted as such, and not literal facts. There is also no biblical support for pre-flood or post-flood giants being hybrid humans, genetically corrupted with angelic DNA, or being the offspring of fallen angels or other deities. All of those ideas come from extra-biblical books and Jewish mythology which people use to twist the interpretation of Scripture. In fact, all the so-called post-flood giants come from 100% human lineage. If you need more facts on this topic, then we encourage you to check out the resources in the description section. Also, don't forget to give a thumbs up to the video and subscribe. Until our next video. Maranatha.